All right, it's the next day. I'm about to see if we can maybe do this door top here next. I was going to do this, but I kind of want to get this on. The one on this door here is tweaked just a little bit at the top, so I'm going to cut it a way I normally don't like to, but I don't really have much of a choice if I want to fix the twist that it's got in the middle. So I'm going to have to cut it basically in the middle and separate it, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. All right, here's our door top. This one's not in as good a shape as the other side was, but it's still decent enough. I've kind of got it cut, as you can see, where it kind of sits in the opening, but we're gonna have to spread it like we did the other side. Unfortunately though, kind of hard for me to show. There's a little bit of a messed up spot in the way the door sits right through here, and so I'm actually gonna split it through the middle here. And it's got some dents and stuff that I'm gonna have to fix too, but we're gonna see if we can get it kind of tacked into position and cut and spread apart and get that finished.
What not to do. Here I'm setting up the door frame so that it can be tack welded at the back before I start cutting on it. Had a little bit of problem with it getting it set up, but it looks like it's getting pretty close to being ready. Unfortunately, I didn't have my welder set right here, so I had to go back and reset it real quick. I'm trying to get it tacked, that way it'll hold the back part of this door frame, so that way once I cut it, I can spread the front part forward, and then once it gets spread, we'll be able to start filling in the middle here. But I'm trying to get it tacked in while I'm trying to use a helmet. My automatic shading helmet had quit working, and so I'm having to use this, I'd say, old school style welding helmet. I'm using my fingers to check to make sure that the posts are lined up, so that way the window frame will go up in there. Or actually, I don't think this one has a window frame. I think it just has the glass that slides up in there, but I'm trying to make sure it's even. Here I'm about to fix the bent spot at the back of the door frame that I had originally did earlier. I'm trying to hammer and dolly it out a little bit so it lines up with the top of the door frame. I don't know if I did that with the Sawzall, or I can't remember if I smacked something into it or what, but I'm trying to get it fixed here. That way I can finish welding this up, or getting it tacked anyway into place. And I'm tacking it in the back, trying to get this thing, or the back part will hold, and then I'll have to move to the front here in a minute after I split the middle of the door frame.
Alright, I'm gonna cut this.
And I'm not sponsored by Milwaukee. I really like their grinders. They seem to last a long time. I've used Makitas in the past. In fact, I still use one of my bigger Makitas that I use for when I'm doing metal shrinking with a shrinking disc that I got from ProShaper.com. It works pretty good, especially when you're doing top chops and stuff and you're trying to bring some of the small low spots up, or if you've got a lot of warpage or something like that. They work pretty fantastic. And I've got a small one I ordered from another company. I can't remember what the name of that company was. And it works good for small stuff like these door frames and everything. Now we've got half a door frame sitting there. I got to clean the end of it up so that way it will weld back easier when we go to adding our middle pieces in.
Like I said, I normally don't like cutting straight through. I like doing the zigzags that help structurally, but I gotta fix some of this. It's hard to show on camera. Alright.
And fitting this front piece, a lot of times the way I'm doing it like this, it's kind of difficult to do, just because without the zigzag piece that you can use as support to clamp stuff, you just don't really have any kind of support in the middle. And that makes it more difficult for doing this. You can sometimes weld the top of the door frame to the actual roof, but then you have to cut it off and all that kind of stuff whenever it comes time to cut everything loose. But you want to make sure you get your alignment done right here. I always try to get like body line, get it lined up first, and then I'll just make everything else fit, because if the body line doesn't fit right here, then the whole thing's going to look silly. And that's what I'm doing with my thumb, kind of rubbing my thumb down, just trying to make sure that the body line is lining up and trying to get the top part kind of close. Trying to look, some of this is a little, I wouldn't say it's a guessing game, but it's sometimes you've got to eyeball stuff to get it to line up quite right, and then you can clamp it into place and get ready to weld it.
All right, I've already got a piece welded in here. I was having some trouble, so I went on and finished that, and the camera battery died, so I just went on and got this outer part here welded up for the most part. Now I'm welding up these gaps here, and then I've got to finish the inside, but it looks like it's starting to come together. It's looking like a door frame. So I'll see if we can get some of this welded up.
It helps if you actually have the ground clamp hooked up to the door when you're trying to weld.
All right, we've got the outside kind of done. I guess I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow. Some of this took longer to fix than I thought it was going to, which usually is how it happens, but I've still got to make a split through here and on the back side, because I've got to kind of bring this up, because it's not exactly, see how it's not lined up right there. We've got it lined up pretty good through in here, which is what I mainly wanted, was the body lines to line up there. But I'll split this up into kind of up into here, and then we'll spread that out and line that up, and then weld it back up. And I'm gonna have to split it on the back side too, so I can get everything lined up. But it's starting to look like a door frame, and kind of tell how the chop's gonna look. So don't have much more to do sheet metal wise on this upper part, other than finish work and everything. Got to get that done. So we'll see if we can get that tomorrow. All right, you can see I've got a little piece of square tubing right here. I used it just kind of with some crude tacks to hold this kind of together, and so I could take the twist out of it that it had. I've got that pretty much done. I've got a filler piece here that I've made that we're gonna weld in here and see if we can get this top part done. Grab it right there. All right, it'll kind of fit down in kind of like that, sort of right there. I'm gonna get that welded in here next, and then that way we can get this, knock these tacks off and get this out of here, and then we'll weld the bottom part that goes up under there. And then once we get that done, we'll move on to the next thing. Alright, we've got this welded up. Looks pretty good. Guess next we need to move on to here, get this welded up. and then come up here to the front. Then we get this split and spread and get it welded up. So we'll move on to this next. All right, I've got it tacked in a couple spots right here, trying to get things lined up, and then so I can get this welded up, I need to pull this. I got to pull this in some so I can get it lined up. I think it got damaged a little bit when I was cutting it, but we're gonna pull that back in and see if I can get this lined back where it needs to be and get it all done. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this back part, get it kind of welded up since it's pretty good, and maybe right here in the corner, and we're gonna keep on moving. Alright, I'm going to grind all this down. Oops. I'm going to grind all this down, clean this up, and bring you guys back once I've got this kind of welded up. Alright, we've got this pretty much welded up. Looks pretty decent. Got it all there. It's pretty solid. It's nice and smooth and flat. So that looks pretty decent. That looks pretty good. So now we just got to jump over here to the front, get this front section done. I'm gonna get it welded up, and then this door top will be finished. Then we get to move on to all that mess. So we're getting pretty close. All right, we've got this pretty much welded up. Got all the door frame pretty much welded up, except for maybe some finish work. So it's kind of looking like a door. So now all we got to do is the top. All right, we're gonna get this top done. As you can see, I've already cut the sheet metal out. I did this side a little different than the other side so that you can see. I cut it all the way out on the other side, but some folks told me that they didn't think I had because they didn't see it. I didn't show enough of it, I guess. But this is the strip that's gonna go in here. I've already run it through the English wheels and got it shaped pretty good, and I stretched a few spots and shrank some other spots so that it'll fit. This roof's not perfect by any means. It's 87 years old and it's been through a time of it. I've straightened it out quite a bit, but it's not 100% perfect, but it's way better than it was. You can kind of see here, I've got the panel where it fits pretty good. I'm gonna get it tacked in and get her welded in. So we're gonna do that next. I'm gonna get set up with the welder and everything, get some of these edges cleaned up, and we'll be ready to go. All right, we're gonna try to see if we can get this tacked in here some. All right, I'm gonna try to use some magnets on this. You gotta be very careful though, because magnets can screw up your welds. But I'm gonna try to see if I can use them just to temporarily hold it in place. got it welded about halfway down or so. I've got it a little loose down here because I'm trying to move it back and forth and make sure the sheet metal stays lined up where it needs to be as I go so that the curve will stay in it. I'm going to go ahead and finish welding all this up and get it all the way down here to the bottom, and then I'll bring y'all back whenever we get done with it. Alright, I've got it pretty much welded. I've got to do a little bit more work. Need some more grinding and stuff here and there, and some hammer and dolly work in some places, but it's pretty good. At least good enough for what this truck is. It's 87 years old, so, but truck's looking chopped now. Still got one more spot to do, but it's getting really late tonight, and I need to probably get inside and get in bed. So I'll probably try to see if I can finish this up tomorrow, and we'll move on to the next thing. I got to do suspension. I've got a Mustang 2 front end I think I'm going to try to put in it, and I've got to figure out a rear end situation. I did have a couple of 9-inch rear ends, but I don't know that they're still good, and one of them has really low gear, so I don't know if I'm going to stick that in here or what, or maybe an 8.8 or something. But we're going to move on to the next thing. So